I'm Colleen with TechCrunch TV here in downtown Las Vegas. Standing with me is Ware, who is kind of a jack of all trades, been here on the ground floor for the whole downtown project.
Right, yeah, I oversee campus development for Zappos. I'm fortunate enough to work with our tech investment group as a partner and a bunch of other stuff with Downtown Project. It's really cool.
Cool. So maybe we can just take a little walk and you can show us.
Yeah, let's take a look.
Tell me about what this was all like maybe a few years back.
About 5 or 6 years ago, a bunch of cool entrepreneurs in Vegas who've been here for a while really decided they wanted to help sort of recreate the downtown of yesteryear, the place that was the center of Vegas. About that time, downtown was a place that was super run down, pretty much devoid of any kind of business activity, no coffee shops, not really any bars. To the west side of Las Vegas Boulevard, we had the original strip. And pretty much going down Fremont Street all the way a good couple of miles was the old strip. And in the 70s and 80s, the strip pretty much relocated down to where it is today, which actually isn't in the city of Las Vegas. And so it's year by year, it's got more and more destitute and kind of more sort of run down. And you can even see down the street from here, a couple blocks away, some old motels that really have probably not had a coat of paint since the 60s. So there really just wasn't a lot happening here. So 5 or 6 years ago, a few really awesome entrepreneurs really wanted to give some life down here. So they started working on places like Downtown Cocktail Room and The Beat, and Insert Coins came a little bit after that, and Beauty Bar a little bit before that, and a bunch of just kind of really cool entertainment destinations to give people in Vegas a place to go where they could park and walk from bar to bar and not have to drive all over the place. But that was pretty much it. So when we moved here, I moved here about a little less than 2 years ago. We had The Beat, we had Downtown Cocktail Room, a couple of bars. But what we didn't have a lot of people, didn't have a lot of energy, didn't have a lot of activity. People are always kind of worried about safety. But there's this really awesome, creative, inspired community of people that live here. And that's what inspired us to move our company down here and ultimately do what we're doing with Downtown Project.
A lot of these old buildings, I mean, have such cool signs, and a lot of the decor of these places is pretty cool. It has a faded glory sort of to it.
Well, Vegas is about like big and bright and shiny, right? Like you think of these huge places that are just amazing. In the old days, we had a lot of that, the crazy neon, the sort of Art Deco design. But one thing Vegas has never done very well, and we're getting better at, is kind of maintaining that historical view, that historical flair. We're really famous here for tearing buildings down as soon as we're done with them and building something bigger and cooler. So what's really cool about downtown Vegas is that whole cycle of renovating or tearing things down to make way for something bigger didn't happen here. So a lot of the things that we have today are really the things from the 60s and 70s that had that really amazing look to them, like all the cool neon signs and all the really amazing old architecture is still here.
And what are the challenges you're seeing here when persuading people to move and set up shop and put down roots here?
Downtown Vegas, in terms of how we all hope to see it grow, is really kind of a chicken and egg problem. It's sort of the easiest way to describe it is, when do you build a grocery store? When the people are here or before they come? Because people won't come if there's not a grocery store and so forth. And that's pretty true for pretty much everything that we, the larger community, are doing. Is just trying to figure out how quickly we can all build the things that we know need to be in an amazing neighborhood. Do we do it before people get here, wait for them to come and then do it? So it's just it's just all about timing. That's the biggest challenge, is when should we all do the next big thing? What's next, and when should we do it? The other challenge, I think, is really space. If you look at downtown Vegas from above, it's probably the only city in the country that has a downtown core that's mostly dirt. And it's completely empty lots.
Right.
So if you look at a city like Detroit, where they're trying to revitalize that city's core, if you come up with an idea for like a coffee shop, for example, all you have to do is go find a building, clean it up a little bit, get some water in there, and you can open a coffee shop. And it can happen really fast. Here, you have to build a building from scratch. And so the timing, can be really challenging, just because there aren't a lot of empty buildings.
So where would you say we're at right now? What are we looking at?
So we're standing on Fremont Street, which is Fremont Las Vegas Boulevard is one of the sort of banner historical corners of the city of Las Vegas, and it also was the hub of what sort of inspired us to do what we're doing with Downtown Project and Zappos and more. The Beat coffee shop to my left is probably one of the coolest coffee shops I've ever been to. the owner, Jennifer Cornthwaite, she took over an old medical clinic, and what she really wanted to do was build spaces for artists and so forth to have galleries. So there are 20 or so galleries back there that are just small independent artists, really inexpensive, so they can actually do it. And then people kept saying, you need to have a coffee shop in the front. She's like, I don't want to build a coffee shop, but finally she did it. And it's just got this amazing feel to it, like really cool people working here, awesome ideas floating around all the time, and it's sitting basically in the middle of a really awesome independent art gallery. And then even like Chex Cash, for example, that's now upside down, used to be, even last summer, was a check cashing place, and now it's actually an independent pop-up retail store with this gal named Sarah, Open Coterie, and amazing independent clothing, and stuff you can't find really anywhere else. So, you know, that stuff is happening here, and it already was sort of happening before we got here, but we've been able to help kind of catalyze that growth even more.
Cool.
Walking on Fremont, kind of what's interesting about where downtown Vegas is going is, you know, while there's so much activity over there that's sort of tourist-centric, this area to the east is actually where we're focusing most of our attention. So where the sign that says Fremont Plaza Hotel, that's the half-city block that will be the container park this summer, where we'll have upwards of 20 to 30 small locations for independent retailers to build cool things. I guess one of the things we were talking about a minute ago was about space and building, you know, having space for retailers. One of the other challenges, probably even greater of a challenge for us, is having enough space for startups and entrepreneurs and businesses to be a part of, you know, not only living down here and hanging out down here,
right,
but also working down here.
Right.
So the one easy way to fix that would just be build an office building or buy an office building. But in our minds, you know, that kind of goes against what we believe to be the real opportunity in downtown Vegas, which is creating an environment where people naturally collide with each other. So, you know, we've seen that for the last couple of years at the Beat. We've seen that at DCR. We've seen that even at Zappos and how it's grown.
Right.
And we really like, obviously, how that has made our lives even better. Because so many of the awesome relationships that I have today, whether it's personal or professional, happen accidentally, just like hanging out in the neighborhood I live in.
Yeah. Where are you finding that people are moving here from?
That's an interesting question. You know, we've had almost 20 startups relocate here over the last year and a half for places like Seattle, San Francisco, and so forth. We've actually found, we were all very surprised by this, that the people that visit from New York are the most likely to visit again, if that makes any sense. So we don't really know what's in the water in New York and sort of the way we think. Maybe there's some alignment there. But the New York folks have been really excited about what's happening in downtown Vegas and come back here a lot. But there's really no pattern. I mean, the folks from the Valley are moving here, folks from Southern California, Seattle. We just had a company relocate here from London, which was sort of surprising. They all got here literally a couple days ago with their gigantic suitcases. We're like, where are we gonna live? But yeah, no, it's been really interesting to see the mix of people. They're not all in tech, they're not all in fashion, they're not all in one sector or one focus area. They're really diverse.
For these people who are moving here, what are the reasons that they're telling you? What is, you know,
I think there's a couple of reasons. Really early, like a company like Remotive, Keller and his co-founders, we met them so randomly. It was such a weird match kind of made in heaven that we found them, they found us. We all got excited about each other's work and vision. And they came to downtown Vegas because they wanted to be a part of building something amazing. They wanted to build a community around their company. They wanted to be a part of building a city. So that was what brought them here. I think what's really captured people's attention over the last year as we've grown from more than an idea to actual physical things happening on the ground is the energy and the optimism and the creativity of the people that are here now, whether it be someone that's been here 2 years or someone who's been here 2 months. There's this weird magical thing that happens here when you're here for a couple days. This is the first of 3 workspaces we have under development right now. And these tie also into the startup dorm project that we'll be working on this summer, which we'll be announcing in a couple of months, that essentially will encourage like people right out of college, or a couple of folks that have a really awesome idea to come live here for 3 months and start their company. And then there's obviously workspace for them down the road and infrastructure and so forth to support, you know, the growth of their company over time. And it just kind of goes to the heart of our belief that you you really shouldn't see a building as an incubator. You should see an entire city as an incubator. And so we don't want to build places like offices that encourage you to stay inside of four walls.
All right, I'm here with Zach and Patrick from Work in Progress. Explain to me what Work in Progress is. What's this co-working idea?
Work in Progress is a collection of spaces and experiences for entrepreneurs and creatives to gather and to connect and to work.
Cool. And it seems like it's definitely a work in progress at this point. Tell me about what the status is of this space and what it'll be. What are you envisioning?
Yeah, this is the first space in the group of spaces that we're working on right now. You know, we've talked about with Downtown Project our concept of sort of investing in spaces and office space and so forth for the startups. Not only that we're investing in, but the larger community. We don't have any office space right now, and so our thought was, instead of building office space, why don't we actually apply the model of co-working to handle companies from 1 to 100. Patrick and I are in a unique position because we work also with Zappos on the campus development project, so we know what it's like to run an office for up to 2,000 people, and we're learning what it's like to run a space for one person, and so we're excited about the one in the middle. Here we'll be open in about a month, and then a couple other spaces right behind that, and we've already seen, just being here in the neighborhood, like for 2 years, for example, I worked out of my house and then out of a former sandwich shop, and I think people are really, really aching to get out of their houses and work around other people who are doing cool things.
And can you give me some details about the format? You know, who will come and work? Does it cost money? What's the setup like?
So we have two basic membership models. One is everybody starts out as a community member. We want to make co-working approachable. So for about $50 a month, you'll be able to have access to all of our spaces in the community areas. And then if you want to use this space as a full-time desk or office space, then you can upgrade to that for a few $100s extra.
It's probably the cheapest co-working space in the country. So $50 a month, like with no day passes. The idea is that the more members that we have, the more spaces that we'll build, and ultimately, you know, we know where we're going with Downtown Project, and so this is just sort of a facilitator to supporting the growth of all the companies that are coming here.
And the full-time members at each space create the culture and the vibe, along with the programming of the experiences and events. So each space has its own character and culture.
Nice. How many total people do you envision being able to, you know, have a part of Work in Progress, say, a year from now?
That's a cool question, because it doesn't really have an answer. The idea, you know, with how big can downtown Vegas be as a community is not really limited by the walls or the sort of streets around us. The city can keep going out and up, and we believe that from a workspace standpoint, as long as we can find a place to build spaces, we really don't have a finite number. We'll be able to seat probably 70 or 80 people in this building, and the other two spaces that we're working on will house anywhere from 100 to 150, and that'll be before summer. And so then it just is going to keep growing over time to support all the companies that are moving to Vegas.
Now, is your focus on tech founders and entrepreneurs?
Not necessarily. Yeah, I think we, obviously that's an area that both of us know really well, and Tony knows really well. But we, generally we think that there's so much value in anything from co-working or otherwise, and people colliding with each other who have no common interests that are noticeable on the surface. So yeah, for co-working spaces often are aligned with tech, but we don't think that's going to be the majority of our members over time.
Cool. Well, Zach and Pat, thank you so much.
Thank you.